Truly something special on this Thursday. 7 continents. Look at this right here. These are 7 pictures because this is a young man who did 7 continents, 7 triathlons, in 7 days.
That is incredible, and it is a new world record. And all new this morning, the man himself is here in studio to talk about this incredible accomplishment. We can't thank you enough. Raymond Braun joins us right now to talk a little bit more about this. Thank you for coming in today.
It's my pleasure. I'm having the best time in Dallas, so thanks for having me.
You're making some stops. You've made a couple already. You're going to hit a couple other spots in Texas. We want to get to your mission shortly. Yes. But first, we can't not talk about what we saw in that picture.
Yeah.
We just did our forecast, and I was asking you during Brittany's forecast, what's the hottest place you completed a triathlon in? What's the coldest place you completed a triathlon in?
We had quite a range from negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit in Antarctica with a little wind chill on top of that to top things off. And then in Brazil and Australia, we hit about 95, 100 degrees humid. So it was feeling a little bit like Texas.
So look at that monitor right there.
That actually looks like it would feel good right now.
Wow.
There's me trying to clip into my cross-country skis, which was a whole saga itself.
So do you have a background in triathlon training or anything like that? Because I can't even run 7 blocks. So how does somebody start training for this?
Well, you know what? If you can't run 7 blocks today, you can do the World Triathlon Challenge in 2 years. Because 3 years ago, I never run more than 3 miles, truly. And I was struggling with really debilitating OCD, mental health challenges. I'd never been physical. I'd never been athletic or into sports growing up. But when I entered an OCD recovery program, one of the things that I did was started working up a pyramid of exposures, doing things that previously scared me that were irrational. So it was everything from, brushing my teeth without boiling the toothbrush, all the way to doing a triathlon, because it represented so much of what I was afraid of. Large groups of people, grime, swimming in bodies of water without chlorine, driving on the side of the road.
Raymond, I got to ask you, one of the descriptions that was told to me by your PR team was even to the point where when you washed your hands so feverishly, sometimes your hands would bleed.
Yes.
What brought that on? I know most people are going to say, what brought that on, and how were you able to pull yourself out of it?
So from a young age, I really did struggle with irrational thoughts and fears around everything related to contamination, germs, pandemics. And so as you can probably imagine, when the pandemic hit, all of these things that I'd previously been doing that I was learning in therapy were irrational, were all of a sudden being talked about. And so I took it to the next level, and I thought everything that around me was poisonous and contaminated. That's the whole problem with OCD, is that it poisons your thoughts and it makes you think things are true that aren't. And so I was literally spending probably 5 or 6 hours a day boiling everything from my pillowcase to every piece of food that I ate. And my rock bottom moment happened when I actually knocked over a pot of boiling water and refused to go to the hospital because I didn't want to leave quarantine.
Wow.
And so that was where I started my journey into an OCD recovery program and mental health. And that's now why I'm so passionate about this challenge, but really opening up a conversation about what's possible when you invest in therapy. Because I went from being a shut-in 3 years ago, who literally could barely, function beyond basic, day-to-day necessities, to traveling the world and completing this world record.
And though, I think that's something that's so hard for people, to talk about mental health issues, specifically men. There's still that stigma around it. How was it that you were able to not only pull yourself out of it, but also find a voice and inspire others?
Well, thank you. I couldn't agree with you more. And the reason why I wanted to do something so extreme, the 777, was because I thought a lot of people, a lot of men would be intrigued by the physical piece, but then to be able to open up the conversation and say, yes, I did have to do all of the physical training, but the mentality and the mental health work that I did is actually what made it possible for me to complete this. And I'm really excited about a lot of the work that's being done, I think, to destigmatize conversations around mental health. Someone who's always inspired me through that has been Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so it was a full circle moment for me to now be here in Texas on the ZOA Fuel Something Bigger storytelling series. ZOA is The Rock's energy drink, where we're I'm just one of many stories of people who are doing really inspiring things in their community, and we're here to highlight and uplift them.
What is the biggest message you want to deliver during this speaker series? What is the biggest message you hope people take away?
I think the biggest message I want to deliver is that we are all capable of so much more than we think. And so I'm not encouraging everyone to go out there and do a triathlon or go to Antarctica, but it is about where are you today And where could you be in the future if you just got out of your own way? My mind took me to such negative, scary places that I had this slip of being like, it can also take me to really positive places. And so ZOA is all about fueling positive energy. And we want to be in every community across the country, highlighting the stories of people who are making an impact, whether it's starting a nonprofit, caring for someone they love, or overcoming something.
And you know, you talked about how you had this idea, going to do a triathlon, but how do you go from, okay, I'm going to do a triathlon to I'm going to do 7 triathlons, and we're going to up that because we're going to put them on 7 different continents?
Yes.
In 7 days.
In 7 days.
7 days.
Like, how do you even come up with that idea?
Well, I think for me, I call it my PhD program in OCD. You know, I like a gold star. I was a nerdy kid in school. And so once I started my OCD recovery program, I love to be able to check something off. All right, I'm eating my apple without scrubbing it with soap first. I learned how to drive when I was 30. I had a lot of things that I'd never done because of fears. And so this just felt like the most extreme, intense, eye-popping way for me to apply everything that I'd be learning in OCD. And then from a logistics perspective, it was partners like ZOA who made it possible with the resources and with all the support for me to be able to do this. And so I'm so grateful to be on the road with them.
Okay, Raymond, we're seeing different shots and different captions, like Cape Town. We just saw Cape Town flash on the screen. But for a person who really doesn't know the rigors of what you were able to accomplish, explain the amount of swimming. I'm talking about each triathlon, because we kept saying Olympic-style triathlon.
Right.
How much swimming? How much running? How much bike riding?
So this is, of course, the triathlon distance they do at the Olympics, hence the name. And it is a approximately 1 mile swim, 26-mile bike, followed by a 10K run.
Wow. So are there any points in this when you were doing this training and first starting out that you felt like quitting?
I think that when I did feel like I might quit, or when I did have a really low moment, I would just remind myself of those moments in quarantine. And I can say with complete confidence and with my whole chest here that I would rather do 7 triathlons on 7 continents in 7 days every single day than live another day with the level of OCD that I had. And so it was hard, but I also just felt gratitude to like be in my body and be exploring what my body was capable of, because I was thinking and living so small that once I expanded that aperture, it was just like, what else can we do?
A lot of people, when they talk about conditions, Raymond, they talk about steps and recovery. They talk about steps.
Yes.
A lot of people never say you're fully recovered.
That's correct.
Would you term yourself as being fully recovered?
So my CBT therapist and I had a little graduation ceremony on Zoom where I did graduate from the exposure therapies, but I'll always be in recovery from OCD. You know, mental health is something that can ebb and flow. Everyone has mental health, and there are days where things can be really difficult. There can be days when things are really joyous. And so what I feel grateful about are 2 things. One, I have the tools now through therapy and connecting with folks to know how to navigate these intrusive thoughts and anxieties as they come. And 2, most importantly, I feel part of a community. And by being more open about my story, I've realized so many of us are impacted personally by mental health challenges. And so just knowing that I'm not alone and that there's people I can reach out to makes me feel like I can get through it.
You know, and we talked about OCD. Keith was telling me when we were talking about you coming on here, agoraphobia.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what it is that kind of keeps you in? You know, people don't want to go outside.
Yeah, so agoraphobia, for those who don't know, is when you literally are afraid of leaving your home or one specific space because you're too overwhelmed by all the fears of the world or everything that can go wrong. And so with OCD, the way that I experienced it was, if you thought about anything happening in my life, my mind would subconsciously make a list of 100 ways how it could be sabotaged, how it could go wrong, how it could hurt someone, kill me. And so things even like walking across the street or getting in a car could feel like life or death. And so you just contract and you become a hermit because that feels like the only, I mean, people literally talk about being in the fetal position. There would be days when I didn't have work where like I wouldn't leave my bed until 4 or 5 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you encourage people to do who maybe don't have the wherewithal or the bravery or the courage to take that first step like you did when you started, you know, pushing yourself inch by inch to the point where you did your 7 triathlons on 7 continents in 7 consecutive days? Maybe they don't have the courage, maybe they don't feel they have the tools. What is the first thing you would encourage a person to do?
I'm really glad that you talk about steps, because my fear would be someone seeing this segment or looking at my social media and saying, wow, I could never do that. And I cannot overstate enough how much I was struggling a couple of years ago and not leaving my apartment. And so I did have to break everything down into steps. But I truly, whenever people say I couldn't do this, I'm like, it doesn't have to be the triathlon, but you really are getting in your own way in terms of how our thoughts and our intrusive thoughts can take us back. And so for me, the first step is actually just acknowledging I want to change. And saying I'd like to change. I know that I'm not happy right now. I know I'm suffering. How can I try to improve here? And then I found that being able to connect with other people, whether it's a therapist, a counselor, a teacher, a trusted loved one, who you can open up to. And as soon as you start opening up, it's literally like a flower blooming. You realize you're not alone. And through me being more open about my own mental health journeys, people in my life who I never would have thought had struggles opened up to me. And so then it just kind of creates this momentum. And like I said before, it's exhilarating once you overcome one like self-limiting belief, you think about, well, what else can I overcome? And I think a lot of people might relate to that. Maybe you've achieved a goal that you never would have thought was possible, and it's like, well, what else can I do? You know, I still, when I drive in LA on the highway, I'm pinching myself like, I'm driving.
No, I don't think I'm in LA. No, I don't even think I can do
I'm
that.
on the road. Because I never thought I would be able to drive.
So here's another question for you. What about, you know, somebody who's got a family member, maybe it's their son, maybe it's their sister, maybe it's their brother, maybe it's a parent who struggles with OCD or agoraphobia or any other sort of mental health issue. What's something that person can do to help?
It's really specific to the individual, because mental health can present in so many different ways. But in my own experience, I know that it's frustrating. You know, for most of my life, my family, when we go out to dinner, everything had to be cut just so, and I would organize all of the plates, and I would never want to share anything. And I know it was hard for them to see me struggling and to see me doing things where it was like, Raymond, it's not that serious. Like, you don't have to worry about this. My sister is actually a doctor, and so she's explained to me, like, this is okay. I'm a doctor, and look, I'm going to drink this without wiping off the top first. But I think that if you do have someone in your life who's struggling, the most important thing is to love them, to let them know that you're here to support them on the journey, and know that everyone is on their own timetable. You really have to make the decision yourself that you want to change and that you want to get help for it to flow. And so in the meantime, to try to love someone and give them support. And then in my instance, also being able to, with loving concern, share, you know, I'm worried about you, or I'm seeing things that make me scared, and I want to help you. But anytime that you can bring in a professional resources, there's a great nonprofit called Project Healthy Minds, which I fundraised for during the challenge. And for anyone who's struggling or wants to support someone struggling, you can just go to Project Healthy Minds, and they'll help you triage exactly how to get the support you need.
Project Healthy Minds.
Yes.
So a lot of healthy minds want to know what is next for you. Because obviously when you do 7 triathlons and on 7 continents in 7 consecutive days, you're not stopping.
Right.
There's got to be another
There's got to be more.
something. What's next?
Well, I will say I've been so exhilarated by this journey that I'm spending the rest of this year really focused on the ZOA storytelling series and traveling and helping other people achieve their goals and celebrating other people to show that my story is not unique. I might have done it to a really extreme extent, but there are people every day who are overcoming limitations and giving back to their communities and helping others. And so definitely focused on trying to give back to the community and help the mental health conversation. But you know I'm always training, and I have some things cooking, so maybe I'll be back here next year to talk about that.
Exactly.
He's not the only one cooking. And by the way, this is a family affair, right?
I know, we were talking about this. So my claim to fame, The Rock, he's kind of family. His dad was actually at my grandpa's funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So all those connections. And yeah, the ZOA family, The Rock, Danny Garcia, Dave Rienzi, the founders, they've inspired me so much throughout this journey. And I think they've really set the tone of ZOA just being about positive energy and really encouraging people to look outside their self-limiting perceptions and feel something bigger in their life.
That's so inspiring, and really your story. I mean, it makes me kind of want to run a triathlon or do a triathlon, but not really.
I'll make you a promise right here on air. If you do it, I'll come back and do it with you.
Wow.
So just let me
Okay.
know.
That wasn't a promise. That was a challenge.
It was a challenge.
That was a challenge.
I
It's
like
a
a
challenge.
challenge.
I got to think about that one a little bit.
I'll bring the Zoa.
All right, if you're supplying the Zoa.
Yeah, we'll get you filled up.
Raymond Braun, I mean, honestly, I know I speak for Brooke. I speak for myself. We could listen to you all day long. That was very enlightening and very inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say it enough. World record holder, 7 triathlons, 7 continents, 7 consecutive days. But the real world record is you opening up this conversation on mental health and how many people you're going to help.
That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a conversation that has to happen, and we're so thankful that you are here today to help us with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond.